Good afternoon, everyone. It is that time of the week. It's that time of the day for my Facebook Live tutorial video. It's just about 1 o'clock. And if you're able to get on, give me a little shout out so I know this is working. I'm a little traumatized by my earlier videos that these don't work. Let's just make sure I'm up and going here. Okay, good. Looks like I am. So I'm just going to give it another few seconds here and see if anyone else hops on. And we'll get started. Today I'm going to be demonstrating a card that was on my blog yesterday, Monday. This card features two of my favorite stamp sets from the new catalog, the holiday catalog. I guess it's not that new anymore, but from the holiday catalog. It has lots of texture. It has some metallic cardstock that it uses and embossing over this gorgeous wood DSP. So let's get started. And I do have to forewarn you because I made a version of the card and I actually mailed it yesterday, and then today I realized, like, oh my goodness, I don't have one to show as my example, so I quickly had to whip up one this morning, and I have a feeling it's not exact, but it's pretty accurate, I think. But if something looks a little off or a little different, that's why. So my cardstock that we're starting off with is Paper Pumpkin cardstock. It's cut at 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches, and it's scored at 4 1/4. Okay, and we're going to be using the gorgeous, because you know me, I love texture, the gorgeous Pinewood Planks Dynamic Embossing Folder. It's a thick embossing folder, so it requires, hi Jean, thanks for hopping on, I appreciate it. It requires a few extra steps, so to speak, compared to our normal embossing folders. It's super thick, but it also gives a lot more texture than our normal folders. So when working with these special folders, you're going to need a spritzer. Just fill it with a little bit of water. And I guess that doesn't, okay. So we're gonna spritz the one side. You don't really want it soaking, you don't want it wet, you just kind of want it damp. If you get it too wet, then you just have wet paper. You just need it enough to make the paper more pliable. If you don't spritz it ahead of time, you run the risk of cracking your paper, which I speak from experience, because I have done that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take my spritzer and just kind of, I don't know, I don't know if you can tell how far away my hand is, but just give, I don't know, I think that was like 4 or something, 4 spritzes I did. And making a little on the damp side. Now I'm gonna put it into my folder. This folder is kind of cool. You can either, depending on where you put your paper, is how you would get the embossed. You can either have, like I did the wood greens going this way, or I could have had it going that way. But it just so happens that I want it going this way. I'm shaking. Why do I always shake? I have to stop being nervous. Okay. So this is going to go in my folder. Like so. And then let me get my big shot here. This big lug of a thing. Now, you're not going to make a sandwich with your plates. You're just going to use one mat. And you're just going to put it on top. So this is my plate. My embossing folder is going to go directly over the plate, and then just one cutting pad on the top. Hey Andrea, welcome. So glad you could make it today. I wish you were here too. You'd be very good at these. Okay, so when you open up your folder, you get that beautiful texture. Either side. You can either use the negative, or you could use the positive, which has like the more raised look on it. For today's card, I'm actually going to use the negative. So I'm going to use the side that has the indented image on it. Okay, like so. Next, I'm going to take a piece of Wood Textures DSP. I wanted to show you the full piece first. I think this is just absolutely gorgeous. It has more of an orange undertone, lots of texture in the picture itself. This one's a little darker, but I really like the more orangey color to go with the orange in my card. So I cut my DSP at 4 inches by 3 inches. And then I have a matting piece to go behind it of Whisper White, which was cut at 4 1/8 by 3 1/8. Okay, we're going to heat emboss on the DSP. So I don't want to glue it down yet, because if I were to make a mistake, I don't have to go ripping it off. I can still just scratch this and start all over again. Okay, so the sentiment that we're using, I love. It says, when I count my blessings, you are on the top of my list. Like, who doesn't want to receive a card that says that, right? It's such a sweet sentiment. Okay, so the sentiment that we're using comes from the Count My Blessings stamp set. This is by far one of my favorites from the holiday catalog. I love the font that it uses. I love that it's a big sentiment. Usually I use like little ones, but these are nice and big and bold. And I love that stamp. I love it, love it, love it. Okay, so when I stamp my sentiment, I'm using the Versamark ink. This is what we use when we heat emboss. We use the Versamark ink because it stays wetter longer than our regular inks. And so it gives us time to be able to sprinkle it with the embossing powder. When you're embossing, heat embossing, you do want to pull out your embossing buddy. This just gets rid of any static that might be on your paper so that the powder doesn't stick anywhere else than it should on your DSP. Okay, so here's my Versamark, and I'm going to ink it up real well. I always tell my ladies, don't push on the ink pads, but this one you kind of have to. Okay, and we're going to aim for center and straight and hope for the best. Okay, so in theory, when we pull this up, it's going to be nice and straight and exactly where we want it. Okay, this is how I keep my embossing powder. I got these little containers just at the dollar store, and I keep my powder on one side and like a little scrap scooper on the other side, so that you just kind of lift up this and throw the powder on it. You want a generous amount. I usually do this a couple times because you just might not hit a spot enough the first time. Beautiful. Okay. Oh, hold on. My T isn't really well. See? My T is missing a little bit, so let's go back over that. Much better. All right, all of my fingers. Okay. So we're going to heat emboss it. I'm going to use my nifty difty heat tool here. And be careful because you can burn your fingers. I usually hold one corner and then work on the one side and then flip it. It's going to just get a little noisy here, but it doesn't take long. And you're going to see that it kind of gels. It goes from a powder to more of a bright, solid look. You can kind of see it's like magic. How's that look? Good? Beautiful. Okay, so here's my white. Now, when you do heat emboss, or even dry embossing for that matter, it kind of warps your paper. You can see that it's not very straight anymore. So normally I would just nick the corners with some adhesive, but after heat embossing, I'm pretty liberal, I'm pretty generous with my adhesive because I want to try and avoid that warping. And let's hope for straight and center. Okay, hold on, that's a little off. It's so hard to do with shaking hands. Oh boy. Okay, then I flip it over and push it down. Ta-da! Okay, so there's our example, the one we're working towards, I should say. And then we're going to just put more adhesive on and hope for straight and center. Okay, Next, we're going to create our pumpkins and gourds and little, whatever those are called, stems? No, those aren't stems. Those are, okay, I don't know what those are, but there's a word for that. We are going to be using the Pick a Pumpkin stamp set and the coordinating framelits, which are called Pattern Pumpkins Thinlits dies. Doodads, yes, exactly, the little doodads. So all you need to do is, hold on, I gotta get my scrap piece of paper. I dropped one of my pumpkins. Okay, so we are going to stamp the big one twice, the small one twice, and then the gourd once. I'm a little disorganized today. Okay, so the big pumpkin we're going to stamp in pumpkin pie ink. And we're going to stamp him twice. Once. Twice. Okay. Then we're going to stamp our smaller pumpkins in Peekaboo Peach. Twice. Once. Can I get 2 on there? Twice. Certainly can. Good. And then we're going to stamp the crushed, the little gourd here. He's cute. In crushed curry. Go quick. I was using my crushed curry the other day and it desperately needs to be re-inked. It's been well loved this fall season. Okay, so then what I would do is I would take my thinlits that match and run it through my Big Shot. It fits perfectly and is ideal for cutting them out. I'm shaking. See? However, just like in cooking shows they do food magic, ta-da, I'm going to do some card magic. So I cut these out ahead of time. 2 big pumpkins, 2 medium pumpkins, and 1 gourd. And then my swirlies, I would just take a scrap piece of gold foil sheet. And I have to confess, my original card is copper. The doodads are copper, but I'm completely, I don't even have a scrap piece of copper right now. I've used them all up. So today we're using gold, which is still nice. I like copper because it adds like a little red hue to it. So I would take my gold, and these are the little thinlits, if I can grab them. There we go. Those are our, I would run them twice. You need 2 of each through the Big Shot, and then you get them done. But we just did a little card magic, and they were already stamped and cut out. Like so. Okay. So what we're going to do is just start assembling it up. So you can place them however you want, but I did one of the big ones there, and then I did another big one, and I kind of put one a little higher just so it adds just a little bit more of a depth to it. And then for our little doodads, I'm using the Tombow, I always want to say Tomboy, Tombow liquid glue, and just barely squeezing, just getting a very little bit of glue on there. You can put these wherever you want. I wanted one there, and then where's my other big one? So this is the oddest thing, to just talk to yourself. I have to admit, I think I say it every time, but it is just the weirdest thing, to talk into space, into the void. Let's put this one kind of sideways. Okay, and then my Peekaboo Peach pumpkins go next. This one I kind of want there. This one I kind of want, let's put him like there. And then my crushed curry gourd. How about there? Then we have these littler doodads. Strings? No, there's a name for them. This one, let's see here. I had it turned around. Just gonna go there. I just love them. They add such a cute little detail and a little bit of shine to the card. And more texture. You know me, I love my texture. And then that one's going to come off with that one over there. So, vines. Yes, Jean, thank you. They are probably vines. Yes, that makes complete sense. Vines. Thank you. Oh boy. Makes sense when you say it, but I couldn't think of it. Okay, so there's our card. That was so quick and easy, right? And I actually yesterday, no, when did I make these? I made them Sunday. When I made them, I actually made 2 because they're so easy just to whip out and make multiples of. Do does. Yes, it does. But it's so easy. It has different techniques between the double embossing on it, and who wouldn't want to receive that sentiment in the mail? So thank you for watching and for always cheering me on in my videos. I hope you check back next Tuesday at 1 where I'll be showing another live tutorial. I hope everyone has a great day. See you next week, guys. Bye.